Guys, it's been a while since I've done a book haul with you guys, and it just felt like such a great day to go to the library. I don't know about you guys, but I love going to my local library. It's a great way to find hidden gems of books and to just be able to get books that are for free. It supports your community. I absolutely love the library, and it always takes me back to that time in my childhood when my mom always took me to the library and I would come home with so many books, and it just felt like a little gift to myself. So I ended up going to the library today and getting a pretty good stack of books. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. So the first book that I picked up is The Wake-Up Call by Beth O'Leary. This is a rom-com, I believe. We're following two different perspectives, one from Izzy and one from Lucas. They are rivals at this hotel, and the hotel is, unfortunately, it's failing. They end up having to work together to kind of return these wedding rings that are left in the lost and found at the hotel, and they're hoping that in doing so it will end up saving the hotel from going under, going bankrupt. So this just sounds like a really good time. It absolutely sounds hilarious. I've never read anything by this author before, but I just need something light. I love a good rom-com. I love a good romance. So this just felt like a really good light read to kind of give a palate cleanser to some of the other heavier, emotional, spooky kind of reads that I picked up. So this is book number 1. Next, we have another romance, and that is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I have had this book on hold since probably April, and we're in September now. So it's been on hold for quite some time. I'm really anticipating reading this book. I'm so excited to finally get into the Magnolia Parks universe. I've heard great things about this. If you're not familiar with the story, this takes place in London. We're following Magnolia Parks, who is a socialite, and BJ, who is like a notorious bad boy. They have a very toxic relationship, but they can't help themselves from being drawn to one another. It sounds very different than the typical romance stories that I like to read. I read a lot of Regency romance, a lot of rom-coms, a lot of women's fiction like Emily Henry, Abby Jimenez. So I'm really curious to see if this is a type of trope that I gravitate towards. I love anything set in London, even in my TV shows. So I just can't wait to kind of get into this universe. There's quite a few books in this series. This was one that I was really, really excited to read, and it's a little over 400 pages, which I think is probably a good amount, especially if you're getting a couple different perspectives in the book. I think we get BJ's and Magnolia's perspectives throughout the story. Very excited for this. This is book number 2. The third one is a little bit of a spooky read, and that is Halloween Party by Agatha Christie. I've read a couple other Agatha Christie books this year. Absolutely love them, so I'm really excited to get into another one of her classics. This just seems like a great fall vibes type of a book. I'm going to go ahead and read the description for you guys. At a Halloween party, Joyce, a surly 13-year-old, boasts that she once witnessed a murder. When no one believes her, she storms off, but within hours her body is found still in the house, drowned in an apple bobbing tub. Famed detective Hercule Poirot is called to investigate. Set against a night of trickery, it's up to Poirot to uncover the real evil presence responsible for this ghastly deed. I absolutely love Hercule Poirot. Wow, I cannot say his name today. The Agatha Christie books that I've read have featured Poirot. And he is so quirky and unique. He does a really great job of uncovering the mystery. Sometimes with thrillers, they get a little bit too spooky, but I think this is still sticking within the mystery realm. So I think this, even though it takes place at a Halloween party, I don't think it's going to be too spooky, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It'll scratch the itch for fall vibes, but it won't keep me up at night. Next book I have is Dutch House by Ann Patchett. I ended up listening to another book by this author called Tom Lake, and I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. Most of her books are very slow burns, historical fiction, literary fiction type of a book. This, I've actually already started it. I'm well over halfway. I've actually had this for maybe couple weeks at this point. The approach that I've taken with this book is that I read like a chapter or two at lunchtime during my lunch break, or maybe a chapter at the end of the day. It's not something that I gravitate towards and just binge read the whole thing in like a day or two with like some of the other romance books or other genres that I typically gravitate towards. However, I really love her writing. It just feels so cozy. And in this novel, we are following this family of Danny and Maeve, and they live in this very fancy mansion in North Philly. During the early 1950s and 60s. Unfortunately, they no longer live in this house anymore, so we're kind of just following their lives post living in this very fancy mansion and kind of the toll that that takes on their day-to-day lives, what that means for their sibling relationship, how they view the house also changes. So it's very much centered around the sibling relationship and then this fancy house that they used to live in. There's not much of like a plot within this book. It's more like character driven. So if you like a character driven story, I would definitely recommend anything by Patchett, especially The Dutch House. The last book that I have is A Lovely War by Julie Berry. This is actually my book club's book pick for the month of October. I have seen so many of you guys read this book and give it really high ratings. This actually got published in 2019, so it's been out for some time. But this is like a genre crossover between romance, historical fiction, a little bit of fantasy, magical realism. It reminds me a lot of Divine Rivals, which is also kind of like in that vein of mashup of genres. But in this story, we are following Aphrodite. She is on trial, and then there's these couple of different couples that have fallen in love during World War I and World War II. So we're kind of hearing from Aphrodite's perspective on what has occurred in these romances between these couples during the wartime. And it sounds really heartbreaking. It sounds really raw. I'm really excited to kind of get into this and kind of see how I feel about it. And if there's any other books that are kind of like similar to this, I'm really interested to hear what your guys' recommendations are. So please comment down below if you've either read this or know of other books that are very similar. I would absolutely love to hear you guys' recommendations. So that is the overall book haul that I have for you guys today from the library. We have 5 books in total. It'll probably take me some time to kind of get through these, especially because I have a couple other books on my shelf behind me that I'm trying to get through. But guys, absolutely go to your local library, utilize their resources. They always have great gems that you can sift through, and it's free. So if you end up not liking the book, you can always return it. So that is my shameless plug for using your local library. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one soon. Bye!